Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who's a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the 1985 film Brazil. This is actually the first time that I've ever seen this movie. Got to give a shout out to Bruce for sending this film my way months ago, and I'm just now getting around to it now that I'm off for Christmas vacation, and things are starting to become a little bit more scheduled and easier to handle as far as timing and timing constraints with the new Baby Thor here in the house. I've been finally able to start catching up on some films, and so I've actually kind of been on a Terry Gilliam kick as of late. I did a review not too long ago on The Fisher King. Shout out to Rosie G12 for recommending that movie. But again, shout out to Bruce for sending this film my way. So this is indeed a 1985, as it says here on Wikipedia, dystopian satirical black comedy science fiction film directed by Terry Gilliam and written by both Gilliam, Charles McGowan, and Tom Stoppard. The film stars Jonathan Pryce and also features Robert De Niro, Kim Greist, Michael Palin, Catherine Hemmold, Bob Hoskins, and Ian Holm. And I mentioned this on a previous live stream where one of the best parts of this film, and it took me a few days to get through it because I started watching and obviously, schedules get crazy. So it's hard for me to sit down for an entire, an hour and a half, 2 hours for a movie without having it be disrupted in some capacity. So it took me about 3 days or so to watch the movie, but it was not because I couldn't handle it or because I didn't like it. I was thoroughly enjoying what I was watching on screen. But one of the things that I noted specifically was just how great the cast is in this film. I mean, when Robert De Niro shows up in the movie, I was like, wait a minute, what? He's in this movie? That's crazy. It's awesome. It's crazy. And this is a movie that I've been wanting to see for a while because, one, obviously, it's one of those films that's on the Criterion Collection. And, of course, anyone that, collects movies or is a big fan of physical media like I am, it's one of those films that you kind of have to have. It's one of the most well-known, I feel, Criterion Collection films. And oftentimes, it's usually up there as far as people consider being one of the best films ever made, or at least one of the most unique films ever made. And obviously, a lot of that has to do with Terry Gilliam and just his very unique style of filmmaking. For those that don't know Terry Gilliam, he's, one of the brainchilds or one of the creative minds, especially behind things like Monty Python, right? That group. He was a part of that group. The only American-born member of the group. And also, too, he's the one that directed the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He's done, obviously, other films, including Brazil, 12 Monkeys, as I mentioned earlier, The Fisher King as well, and tons of other stuff. And he's always just been known for having this very unique, creative, artistic style. I mean, all of the animations that you can remember from especially Monty Python and the Holy Grail are all from him, right? They're all from his design, and it's just amazing what he was able to do with that kind of, early on in film using that kind of technology in the way that he did, kind of cutting up different images from different places and putting it all together and making it work in these weird, unique ways, right? Very obscure ways, but it still really works nonetheless. And this is a film that I really honestly think is spectacular in a lot of different ways. There's some really great sequences that are definitely more on the sci-fi aspect. There's a lot of fantasy sequences that happen. It really centers around this character of Sam Lowry, played brilliantly by Jonathan Pryce, where basically he is a man going through life. He's kind of just going through the motions. He doesn't want to move up in the world. He just wants to stay kind of exactly where he is. And, he is someone that is a dreamer too, though. He daydreams constantly. He's, flying through the sky, and he has wings, and there's a woman who he is, trying to save in this process. And there's a lot of really awesome dream sequences of him and of other really cool designed characters. All practical effects, which I just love, by the way. The fact that they were able to create these designs for these characters and these costumes for these characters, and he's fighting these different, beasts and everything. It really is one of those things where it's a fun little trip into the mind of Terry Gilliam, and it's always, I feel like, something where it's going to be weird, it's going to be bizarre, but it's also going to be a lot of fun as well. Just trying to kind of give a little bit of synopsis from Wikipedia. It says, the film centers on Sam Lowry, a low-ranking bureaucrat trying to find a woman who appears in his dreams while he is working in a mind-numbing job and living in a small apartment. Set in a dystopian world in which there is an over-reliance on poorly maintained and rather whimsical machines, Brazil's satire of technocracy, bureaucracy, hyper-surveillance, and state capitalism is reminiscent of George Orwell's 1949 novel 1984 and has been called Kafkaesque and absurdist. And there's definitely some absurd concepts to the film, as I said, because it just dives into these very weird things, especially at the very end of the film. Not that this is any spoilers, because this film came out in 1985, but there's this really incredible sequence at the very end where he gets saved, he's about to be killed, or he's about to be interrogated, he's about to be tortured, interrogated, and he, all of a sudden he's saved, and it's all the sequences, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The whole time I'm just, like looking at this saying, wait a minute, the film kind of made some sense before. You knew when you were in the dream, and you knew when you were in real life, and it was kind of weird still, but it was also, you knew exactly what was going on at the time. And so you're just seeing all these things happening. You're like, wait a minute, that guy just disappeared. How does that work? And wait a minute, how is he in the truck? And then, of course, you find out at the very end that basically he has escaped into his own mind, and he found his own happy ending. And I thought it was one of those things where, 20 minutes left of the film, he finally is, gets with the girl, right? He saves the girl, thinks he saves the girl. And then all of a sudden you find out after the fact that he was caught, that he left a paper trail, because obviously they live in, as it says here, the surveillance state. And I think especially looking at it from like a 2020 lens, and you look just at how we are still very much, this is back in 1985, but right now we are still very much living in this type of surveillance state where people basically can track exactly where we are, what we do. And it's very hard to really escape and to really be able to run away from those things. And I think that last sequence, especially, with the last 20 minutes of him getting caught and going through all of the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, really just is a good critique of that kind of a system, and also an over-reliance on technology as well, and how that technology, though it can be so advanced, when it doesn't work, it's just a crapshoot. And there's really great sequences, especially with Bob Hoskins, who plays one of the workers, who Central Services, who is the one who's sent to fix his air conditioning, and they're just constantly messing up. They're saying, oh, you gotta have this paperwork, and it really is a great critique of the overall system, and again, it's a lot of fun. Now, I don't think I like this movie nearly as much as The Fisher King. This one's definitely, again, as it says, more of a sci-fi, so this one definitely, I think, is more absurdist than the other films that I've seen from Terry Gilliam. Not to say that this is the most of the absurd, but it is definitely one of them, and so it's a movie where I can appreciate it for what it is. Cinematography is fantastic. The score, based on the song Brazil, is also just fantastic. Like, you hear the score throughout the film, has the first few notes, it's just really, it just sticks with you, and it's one of those things where it's always cool when you're able to hear a score that's based on just even a few notes of an actual song, and you hear the song and you hear all these different melodies and all of these different parts of the score throughout the film that's connected and based off of and inspired by that song, and it does just an incredible job here as well. As it says towards the very end, it says, though a success in Europe, the film was unsuccessful for its initial North American release, and actually that makes total sense to me, because again, this is diving into the mind of Terry Gilliam, and that's definitely not for everybody, for sure. It has since become a cult film. In 1999, the British Film Institute voted Brazil the 54th greatest British film of all time. In 2017, a poll of 150 actors, directors, writers, producers, and critics for Time Out magazine ranked it the 24th best British film. So yeah, this is usually considered as being one of the best British films, also even just one of the best films of all time. And obviously, its appearance on the Criterion Collection, and the fact that it's always one that people feel the need to buy and get, and of course that poster that you can see right up here, it's just very... It's very iconic to the film itself. So you got great score, great cinematography, great direction, great writing. Again, having Tom Stoppard, who's a playwright in this, I think really definitely helped out, especially with those more absurd sequences, especially that last 20 minutes of the film. But I will say that it does sometimes delve a little bit too far into that. It is a film that I feel like I could definitely watch again, but not nearly, I think, as likable as a film like The Fisher King, where it's kind of like this tale of redemption, and you're just following along the character of Jack in that film and his redemption story. And so you're just like, oh, I like going on that kind of a journey and having that sense of fulfillment at the very end. Whereas with this one, it's one of these like bittersweet endings, right? Because you think he finds happiness, and then the last 20 minutes happen, and then you realize at the very end of the film, oh, he has just gone insane, basically, where he's gone comatose, he's escaped into his own mind. So he has a happy ending in his own mind, but it's not the actual reality. And that means that the reality of the situation is that, unfortunately, the woman that he loves has been killed, has been shot, and he is trapped, and he essentially is going to be trapped forever. So if I had to give this film a grade, I'd give it probably an A-. Again, it's still a very strong film. There's a lot of things to like about the movie, and I think that if I probably were to watch it again, and I'm plan to definitely at some point in the future, probably even watch it with the wife, because I think that she would appreciate some of the artistic elements and artistic choices made in this movie, and she likes sci-fi films too. It would be interesting to see if it kind of holds up And it becomes even more entertaining knowing what I know now, especially about the ending, that would allow me to pay attention more to different parts of the film that maybe I wouldn't have paid attention to in the very beginning of it. But yeah, A- to this film. It really is a solid film. Roger Pratt did cinematography. Michael Kamen did the music. Both of them did a great job. Again, as I said, that starring cast, especially Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan Pryce truly, I never really saw him as a leading man, and I feel like he does such a great job in this movie, and you just buy into him in his character, and it just really is something spectacular. Terry Gilliam, of course, brings excellent direction into this as well. And 1985 release. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the film. What are your thoughts on the film Brazil? If you have seen it, let me know in the comment section below, especially that pinned comment, because sometimes comments can get a little out of control, and it's easier for me just to go straight to the pinned comments. So let me know in the comment section. Let me know also what your thoughts are on Terry Gilliam. I did one of my recent shows, one of my recent live streams, a podcast. We did a whole section just talking about thoughts about Terry Gilliam. I think he is definitely one of the most underrated directors of our time, and he's someone that is still working. His last film came out in 2018. It'll be very interesting to see what films, if any, he is working on in the future. Also, shout out to Bill Garland, who did the theatrical release poster for this film, because again, this truly is an iconic poster, and that song especially, just again, sticks with you all the way to the end. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe, also hit the Rumble button if you're watching over on Rumble, as I do upload these there simultaneously, though it does sometimes take a little bit of extra time to process. And so even though I might share the link out earlier, because it's not a very good system, it doesn't tell you when it's 100% processed. It's just it's great to have an alternative to YouTube, but so far I'm not really seeing as much as I would have liked to from that alternate platform. So let me know again if you have any information about how to monetize over there, or how to know exactly when it's safe to share the link and not have people get error messages. Please feel free to contact me. Links of how to support the channel, and also how to contact me in the description below. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my December Patreon and Subscribe Star members, starting off with Patreon Albertus Magnus, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator Brian P., Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Miss Martin Muses, also known as Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bogend, Tina B, and the Modern Major General, Laura Story. Gotta give you that shout out for that one time that you were doubled up. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And now a huge shout out to all of my December Subscribe Star members we have over there with Stand For, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so much for being my Patreon and Subscribe Star members. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream on the main channel, please consider joining over on those platforms. You can also get access to things like exclusive giveaways of 4Ks, Blu-rays. If you want a DVD, I guess you could also get a DVD as well, digital codes, and of course, you get to possibly join me on the channel once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream and access to an exclusive podcast featuring John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun talking about movies and tons of other random things. Anyway, if you want to support these things, check out the links in the description of this video. And also, please consider joining my other channel, the OMB Report, where I talk about not just movies like I do over here, but I focus more so on politics, news, and culture in that order. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for your love and support. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.